Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is a listening session of the California High-Speed Rail Authority. The listening session means it's our opportunity to listen to your comments regarding the draft 2020 business plan. Before we get started, let me give you a little bit of information, and secondly, then I'll ask Mo, our secretary, to provide the appropriate information for your ability to participate in this hearing. And again, as I pointed out, this is a listening session. On February 9th, 2021, the authority released a revised draft 2020 business plan. Upon the draft 2020 business plan, updating the draft 2020 business plan that was previously released on February 12th, 2020. The authority is holding a 30-day public review and comment period, which runs through March 12th, 2021. We are receiving only comments on the business plan today. Your comments may be received today orally, or they may be presented in writing, delivered to the California High-Speed Rail Authority's Sacramento address, available on our website, or by email to our email address, also noted on the website. The revised plan is available on the authority website. The purpose of this hearing is to receive public comment on the revised draft 2020 business plan. All public comments received will be provided to the authority board of directors as it considers finalizing the 2020 business plan, which is scheduled to occur at the board meeting on March the 25th. At this point, I would like to turn the meeting over for a moment to our secretary, Mo, to give you the instructions for your participation in today's listening session. Mo?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, all, and welcome to the California High-Speed Rail Revised Draft 2020 Business Plan Comment Hearing. Today, we are hosting this meeting remotely via Zoom. In a moment, we will take public comment. First, we want to run through some important technical aspects of this meeting for offering public comment. If you are logged into this meeting via the Zoom application, please use the Raise Your Hand feature, typically located at the bottom of your screen, so that I may call on you to provide your comment. If you're dialing in by phone, pressing #2 will raise your hand and put you into our queue. Speakers will be called in the order that their hands is raised. Once you've been in the queue and your name is called in the web meeting, please click the prompt on your screen to allow your microphone to be unmuted. On the phone, we will call on you by the last 4 digits of your phone number. At that point, you'll hear a message that you are being unmuted. Once unmuted, it will be your turn to speak. Please slowly and clearly say and spell your first and last name, and if applicable, state the organization you represent. After your introduction, each speaker is allotted 2 minutes to provide their comment. I will provide a warning 15 seconds prior to the 2-minute warning. Our court reporter is on the line to record those comments. If they need you to spell or repeat something, they may interject. I will notify you when your time is up. At the end of your comment, we will disable your microphone. However, you're welcome to stay on the line to continue watching or listening to the meeting. I would like to apologize in advance to any member of the public whom I mispronounced their name. And if you do not wish to provide comment and simply want to watch the meeting, you can do so by logging on to hsr.ca.gov and looking for the link to our live stream.
Thank you, Mo. And ladies and gentlemen, let me mention one time again that we are only receiving comments today on the draft 2020 business plan, which was released on February 9th, 2021. Also, we'll attempt to allow those members or those people in the public who are joining us today who are elected officials from around the state of California. As best we can, we will allow your comments early in this session. Mo will do his best to recognize you as early as possible in the hearing. With that, we are now prepared to take your comments on the 2020 business plan released again on February 9th, 2021. So Mo, if you'll move to your list and start calling on those people who are in the queue, and do your best, if you would, again, to provide time for the electeds early on.
Yes, sir. First up, Mr. Chairman, we have a Stephanie Dietz.
Good morning. My name is Stephanie Dietz. I'm the city manager for the city of Merced, representing Mayor Serrato. The city of Merced supports Governor Newsom's vision and plan for high-speed rail in California, particularly the important infrastructure investments in transportation in the heart of California, the Central Valley. High-speed rail will provide a commitment to clean, low, and no carbon transportation strategies that help reduce pollution in the Central Valley, home to some of the nation's worst air quality and highest asthma rates. The city's commitment includes continued strong support for the draft 2020 business plan for the high-speed rail project, which includes pursuing Merced, Fresno, Bakersfield interim service with stops at Kings, Tulare, and Madera. Merced, Fresno, and Bakersfield are home to nearly 1 million Californians, and the respective counties, Merced, Fresno, and Kern, have a population in excess of 2 million people. Governor Newsom's commitment and vision for high-speed rail is memorialized in the revised draft 2020 business plan, with the inclusion of a Central Valley segment that cuts travel time in half between cities in the valley compared to today's rail service or traveling by car. The plan frames a high-speed rail line that provides connections in Merced to the Altamont Corridor Express or ACE train service and the San Joaquin service to Oakland and Sacramento in the north and Central Valley and Los Angeles in the south. While the project is transformative for the Central Valley, it maintains important targeted investments adopted by the High-Speed Rail Authority in the Bay Area and Los Angeles. This is key to opening up valley-to-valley access to provide opportunities for companies to expand to the Central Valley and offering affordable housing prospects that align with the governor's overall goals to ensure statewide coordinated investment. High-speed rail also connects Merced and the Central Valley to the mega region efforts from the Bay Area, providing a regional perspective to how we address housing, workforce, and educational issues. This includes leveraging state investments in dynamic institutions such as UC Merced. The city of Merced has been and remains supportive of high-speed rail and looks forward to a continued partnership in doing its part to provide solutions to California's long-term challenges. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Dietz. We appreciate your comments.
Mr. Chairman, we have up next a Mr. Dan Levitt.
Good morning, Mr. Levitt.
Good morning, Chair Richards and members of the board. My name is Dan Levitt, and I represent the Central Valley Rail Working Group, the San Joaquin Regional Rail Commission, and the San Joaquin Joint Powers Authority. The 20-agency Central Valley Rail Working Group includes all of the regional transportation planning agencies, regional rail operators, counties, and major cities in the Sacramento to Merced corridor. San Joaquin Regional Rail Commission is the owner-operator of the ACE commuter rail service, and the San Joaquin Joint Powers Authority is the managing agency of the state-funded San Joaquin's passenger rail service. The Central Valley Rail Working Group, the San Joaquin Regional Rail Commission, and the San Joaquin Joint Powers Authority are strong supporters of the implementation of the statewide high-speed train system in California and moving forward with the electrified Merced, Fresno, Bakersfield high-speed rail interim service that includes stops at Madera and Kings Tulare. We are also strongly support that the remaining $4.2 billion of Prop 1A bond funds being directed to complete the delivery of the 119-mile electrified Central Valley segment and environmental review on the San Francisco to Los Angeles Phase 1 segments. This funding is required to implement the Merced, Fresno, Bakersfield high-speed rail interim service and to extend high-speed rail to San Francisco and Southern California in the future. The Central Valley Rail Working Group San Joaquin Regional Rail Commission and the San Joaquin Joint Powers Authority are submitting formal letters of support for the approval of your revised draft 2020 business plan. And we look forward to continuing to work with you to implement electrified high-speed rail in California that is fully integrated with the ACE and San Joaquin services. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you, Mr. Levitt.
Mr. Chairman, we have next up Braden Duran.
Thank you. Mr. Duran, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. My name is Braden Duran, and I am a planner for the Fresno Council of Governments. On behalf of Fresno COG, I am here to voice our strong support for the revised 2020 draft business plan that was released last month, and that includes pursuing the Merced Fresno Bakersfield interim service with the stops at Kings Tulare and Madera. As noted in our letter of support, this will provide electrified high-speed rail service to Californians at the earliest possible time. We also support and confirm that the independent peer review shows that the Merced Fresno Bakersfield corridor, including high-speed rail service and improvements in supporting the ACE and San Joaquin's rail and bus services, shows the highest forecast gain in ridership, while doing so at the lowest increase in cost. This interim operating segment, coordinated with improvements aligned with the state rail plan, will create significant benefits. Key benefits include, of course, the economic and jobs benefits of reducing travel times, providing a better, more frequent and reliable passenger rail service, and reducing air pollutants and reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Last, Fresno COG also strongly supports the recommendation to use the remaining Prop 1A high-speed rail bonds to implement the electrified Central Valley segment, and for the environmental review that will allow the service to be extended to the Bay Area and Southern California in the future. Fresno COG looks forward to the future of high-speed rail in California, and thank you for allowing me to make this comment today.
Thank you, Mr. Duran.
Mr. Chairman, we have next up someone providing comment via the phone. So we're going to call on the last four digits, which is 5373.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Stuart Flashman, STUARTFLASHMAN. I'm an attorney in Oakland, California, and I am here representing my clients in litigation against the authority, which include former board chair, the Honorable Quentin Kopp. These comments supplement my prior submitted written comments. I have two comments. First, the business plan assumes that by having the San Joaquin JPA provide interim high-speed rail service on the authority's Central Valley segment, that service will not be subject to Prop 1A's prohibition against providing an operating subsidy, which the business plan acknowledges will occur. The authority is mistaken. All high-speed rail service within California must be authorized by the High-Speed Rail Authority. Thus, the prohibition on operating subsidy contained in Streets and Highways Code section 2704.0A D2D applies. Any subsidy to that interim service would violate Prop 1A. Second, my client's court challenge to AB 1889 is still pending in the 3rd District Court of Appeal and will be likely heard and decided this summer. If the court overturns AB 1889, much of the authority's bond expenditures, especially those which do not produce a complete segment that is suitable and ready for high-speed rail operations, were illegal. Those expenditures will have to be reimbursed to the High-Speed Rail Bond Fund from the state's general fund. The authority board needs to take care how to spend
15-second warning.
bond funds. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Flashman.
Mr. Chairman, we have up next Cindy Parra.
Good morning, Ms. Parra.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Cindy Parra, and I am the board chair of Golden Empire Transit District in Bakersfield. The district CEO, Karen King, has addressed this board several times in the past to appeal to your sense of urgency to acquire the Bakersfield segment of right-of-way, which includes Golden Empire Transit District's maintenance and operations facility at the planned Bakersfield Station site. We are disappointed that the updated business plan draft has taken out the reference to the acquisition of our property and feel it would be beneficial to both parties to begin the relocation process of our facility now. We understand that infrastructure funding, including high-speed rail, is a priority of the Biden-Harris administration. We are hopeful that this will translate into funding support of the California high-speed rail project. As you know, we at Golden Empire Transit have an urgency for you to move forward with investing in Kern County, including the acquisition of our property. In March, GET will begin receiving its first order of zero-emission buses. These new buses will be hydrogen fuel cell buses and will require the district to make extensive infrastructure improvements at our present facility. These new buses will require us to build new maintenance bays and to build energy supply infrastructure to power the vehicles. GET's board of directors is reluctant to make these investments in our facility, understanding that your acquisition of our property may be imminent. We are hesitant to make multi-million-dollar investments in facility that will have to be abandoned and believe it is not at the best interest of our constituents to spend precious tax dollars to make these potentially short-term improvements.
15-second warning.
Therefore, I ask that you direct your staff to expedite the processing of the acquisition of Golden Empire Transit's property. We are poised and ready to cooperate with high-speed rail to accomplish this important right-of-way acquisition. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Parra.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to go over the instructions to provide public comment again, as we've had some attendees join after the initial instructions were provided. I just want to remind all attendees who wish to provide public comment via using the Zoom app to use the raise your hand feature, typically located at the bottom of your screen, so that we may call on you to provide your comment. If you're dialing in by phone, pressing #2 will raise your hand and put you into our queue. Speakers will be called in the order that their hand is raised. Next up, Mr. Chairman, we have Chuck Rehas.
Good morning, Mr. Rehas.
Good morning, Chairman Richards. Thank you. My name is Chuck Riojas, R-I-O-J-A-S. I am the CEO of the President Madera Tulare Kings Building Trades Council. My comments are to support the revised business plan, and I urge you to finish the Central Valley segment. The reasons are numerous. I can go on for a lot longer than 2 minutes on it, but let me suffice to say that the Central Valley economic impact during this build out has been immeasurable. I have multiple stories of construction workers whose impact the project has had on their lives are numerous. This project has saved houses, it has sustained families during this pandemic, and it has given families hope with apprenticeship opportunities. I've spoken to you before about apprenticeship opportunities, how they are definitely transformative. We have to date, just by numbers, between 500 and 800 apprenticeship opportunities that were derived from this project in the Central Valley during the build out. So I urge you to continue to finish the Central Valley segment, allow us to complete the work that we were challenged to do, that, you know, the challenge was met, and to accept the revised business plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Riojas.
Mr. Chairman, we have up next for public comment, Paul Cacchadorian.
Good morning, Mr. Cacchadorian.
Can you hear me?
We hear you. Thank you.
Great. My name is Paul Cacchadorian. I'm the owner of Catch Environmental. We're currently providing demolition and hazardous remediation services on the high-speed rail. I wanted to give you a little bit of background. Thank you for the opportunity, first of all, to address everybody. I'm a small disabled veteran-owned business, and I fully support the new business plan. I voted for the high-speed rail even before I knew it was coming to Fresno, so I've been a supporter from the very beginning. Fresno has always been underserved when compared to LA or the Bay Area when it comes to large public works projects. And having high-speed rail start in Fresno not only was smart due to its demography and the long length of track it was going to allow, it was a great project to bring world-class employment. This also will help the Bay Area, as was previously stated, by allowing affordable housing. If you live in, say, San Jose, 30 miles away from your commute, it's going to give you about the same commute time from Fresno as it would when traffic is considered. And it's also helped Fresno modernize and remove some of the neglected areas. I've been a big part of that, and allowing for Fresno to update and clean up some of the areas that were underserved, and that's been immeasurable. And we started out before this project with 5 employees. We currently have 38 employees. 85% of my labor force came from public assistance. Those people had no jobs at all. Now, a lot of those employees are homeowners. They have good benefits, good wages, they're learning good trades, and they're able to support their families even through this pandemic. It's really been a blessing for them.
15-second warning.
Thank you. And also, finally, I just want to tell you, not only is this project beneficial for our company as far as giving us a boost, but we're moving on to do other work. We're building currently police stations and fire stations. So not only are we going to be weaned off this work because we're based in Fresno, it's given us the opportunity to expand our scope of work, and it's just been a great project and a great benefit for Fresno and my company. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Cacchadorian.
Mr. Chairman, we have next up Sean Jeans Gale.
Mr. Jean Scale, good morning.
Good morning, and I appreciate you holding this hearing. I am speaking on behalf of the Rail Passengers Association in support of the authority's revised business plan. Our association supports the work, is supported by the work of 28,000 members nationally, over 3,400 of whom live in California. I know there's a lot of speakers today, so I'll try to be brief. We commend the authority's perseverance in advancing this project in the face of an absence of any meaningful federal support over the last, a bit over a decade, and at times outright hostility. I can tell you from my conversations on Capitol Hill that policymakers right now are looking to the California project to guide future investment and the ability of the authority to continue forward in the face of an absence of a federal stream of investment is going to do really positive things for the interstate passenger rail program generally. So with the Biden administration's recent interest, I think California has a really important role to play in advancing high-speed rail in America. Finally, we would encourage the authority to continue the goal of pursuing strong connections to the existing national intercity rail network, which will be key to a viable interstate rail program. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jean Scale.
Mr. Chairman, we have next up Stephen Roberts.
Good morning, Mr. Roberts.
Good morning, Chair Richards and board members. My name is Steve Roberts, and I am the president of the Rail Passenger Associations of California and Nevada. RailPAC is an all-volunteer statewide organization and is a strong advocate for an expanded and comprehensive public transportation network. We've reviewed the revised 2020 California High-Speed Rail Business Plan and the association recommends the board adopt the revised 2020 business plan and including the phasing of the remaining Proposition 1A funds to complete the core 119-mile Central Valley segment. RailPAC also supports the continued focus on completing the rail line Merced to Bakersfield and initiating the interim Central Valley operating plan as the best strategy forward. The interim operating plan brings true high-speed rail service to California sooner than any other alternative option. It demonstrates the potential of high-speed rail while facilitating an improved and expanded ACE San Joaquin high-speed rail network, reaching all of California and generating substantial synergies beyond the current individual systems. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to take this time to briefly go over the instructions for any attendees who joined after the instructions were provided. Attendees who would like to provide public comment using the Zoom application, please use the raise your hand feature typically located at the bottom of your screen so that we may call on you to provide your comment. If you're dialing in by phone, pressing #2 will raise your hand and put you into our queue. Speakers will be called in the order that their hand is raised. Mr. Chairman, we don't have anybody raising their hand currently, but let's give it a minute or two. Oh, Mr. Chairman, we currently have next up a Tom Williams.
Good morning, Mr. Williams. Mr. Williams?
I'm here, Chair. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we hear you. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Chair. And again, my name is Tom Williams, City Manager at the City of Millbrae. Millbrae is a location in California High-Speed Rail's only proposed station in San Mateo County, and it also serves San Francisco International Airport. Unfortunately, the business plan does fail to adequately address the rail alignment and station design consistent with our adopted Millbrae Station Area specific plan that was adopted back in 1998. And also what the voters approved when they envisioned high-speed rail in California. The proposed rail alignment and station eliminates 1,100 housing units, of which 488 are approved. And of this 480 approved, 73 are low income. And high-speed rail plan, again, eliminates this much-needed housing and is consistent with the state of California and the governor's emergency housing crisis declaration as stated in SB 330. We request that the board direct staff to redesign not only the rail alignment, but the station, underground, not only the rail, but the station, consistent with what has always been envisioned since 2008 when voters approved the bill for high-speed rail to save much needed affordable housing and development at a transit-oriented development that implements infill and smart growth best businesses practice that not only high-speed rail, but transit agencies throughout California have adopted. So again, our request is that you direct staff to look at a redesign of the rail alignment to be underground as well as the station. And unfortunately, the business plan fails to adequately address any of the impacts or issues at the Millbrae station.
You have 15 seconds remaining.
And with that, I look forward to working in a spirit of cooperation with High Speed Rail Authority and staff to actually do it right. Since SFO will be served by this, I think that we can do a much better job in welcoming the world to the Bay Area when they look for public transportation alternatives as they exit San Francisco International Airport. I think we can do a much, much better job.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Mr. Chairman, we have next up Brian Yannity.
Good morning, Mr. Yannity.
Hello, Chair Richards and the board members. Can you hear me?
We hear you just fine. Thank you.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to provide comments today. I am the Vice President South of the Rail Passenger Association of California and Nevada, RailPAC. I just want to echo what my president, Steve Roberts, said a few minutes ago, that RailPAC supports the Central Valley Initial Operating Plan and supports adoption of the business plan and the allocation of Prop 1A funds. And I do want to make a comment on the business plan, something that's touched on briefly, but it is kind of becoming, I think, a political risk to the project here in Southern California. And the business plan should address a little bit better or have more explanation. And that is on the LA to Anaheim EIR process, the Colton Intermodal Yard proposed for BNSF, but as part of the California High-Speed Rail Authority's environmental studies because of impacts on freight movement between LA and Fullerton. That is generating a bit of opposition in the Inland Empire, and political leaders in the Inland Empire and communities are kind of raising a ruckus about it and saying the authority has not really consulted them. They see it. There's a perception out there among many community activists and environmental activists that the High-Speed Rail Authority is dumping a diesel, a bunch of diesel truck traffic and a new diesel locomotive yard in a community that's already heavily polluted. And that should be addressed in the risk management
You have
section,
15 seconds remaining.
Yes, and I just would like to push the question of electrification of that intermodal yard as part of the EIR process, including trains and trucks. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yannity.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to take this opportunity to briefly go over the instructions again for any of the attendees. Attendees who would wish to provide public comment using the Zoom application, please use the raise your hand feature typically located at the bottom of your screen so that we may call on you to provide your comment. If you're dialing in by phone, pressing #2 will raise your hand and put you into our queue. Speakers will be called in the order that their hand is raised.
No hands yet, Mo?
No hands up, Mr. Chairman. Someone raised their hand and then it went down. Oh,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, we have next up for public comment. Mike, apologies. Give me a second, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
They lowered their hands. Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure if the member of the public is having technical difficulties, but I did see their hand raised twice, so I will call on them to provide public comment if they're able to. Next up would be Mike Behan.
Mike Behan, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me?
We hear you well, thank you.
Apologies for any technical difficulties. Mike Behan, Deputy City Manager, City of Palmdale. Mr. Chair, members of the board, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I think we've been a long-time supporter of the California High-Speed Rail. We support the business plan. I think the three things I'm going to say are led by stay the course. Let's continue to focus on an electrified system that will help fulfill the state's goals of improving air quality and reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Let's stay the course on completing the environmental process for all the segments so that we can move forward to the next phases, including right-of-way acquisition, design, and construction. Let's stay the course and finish the initial 119 miles and, quite frankly, move from the Bakersfield segment to Palmdale. because we are ready and we are eager to have high-speed rail here in Palmdale. We've been planning on the arrival of the California high-speed rail system for over 25 years, and Palmdale will be the first true interstate high-speed rail hub, joining California high-speed rail, Brightline, West, Metrolink, Amtrak, Greyhound, and our local transit authority, all here in Palmdale. As you know, we just approved a transit-oriented development specific plan and EIR that surrounds our future multimodal high-speed rail station. And again, we'd like to thank the authority for the grant funds that help us do this plan. And I wanted to announce today that, you know, even though we're dealing with fiscally difficult times right now, our city manager and city council just authorized $5 million from our general fund that we will put towards assembling land outside of the California high-speed right-of-way so we can be ready for the arrival of the California high-speed rail system. We are committed to this project. This is an amazing project and we support you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Behan.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to take this time to briefly go over the instructions one more time. Attendees who are joining us via the Zoom application and who wish to provide public comment, please use the raise your hand feature typically located at the bottom of your screen so that we may call on you to provide your comment. If you're joining in by phone, pressing #2 will raise your hand and put you into our queue. Speakers will be called in the order that their hand is raised. Mr. Chairman, none of the attendees have raised their hand, but I am monitoring the attendee list. Oh, Mr. Chairman, we have up next for public comment and Ann Schneider.
Good morning, Ms. Schneider.
This is Ann Schneider, Mayor, City of Millbrae.
Good morning, Mayor. You're on and we hear you loud and clear.
Thank you. As I said, Ann Schneider, Mayor, City of Millbrae. You heard our city manager earlier. Would just like to add to our comments in terms of equity of funding that right now the plans which are not in this revised draft plan are very devastating to the city of Millbrae. And if indeed you have allocated almost $3 billion to Fresno, the same consideration should be given to Millbrae. We are right next to SFO. We are impacted by every transportation agency. We are the largest multimodal station west of the Mississippi. And we are the gateway for everyone coming into California via SFO. We should be, our visitors and our business community should be recognized as such, and the city of Millbrae should be treated with the same respect in terms of a proper station and the undergrounding of rail lines. We've already spoken about housing, but the old business plans were absolutely devastating to my community, to my residents, and to our business community. So we ask for equal care that you give to all the other stations along the line, and we look forward to working with you. It has been frustrating over the last couple of years. It was frustrating in that there was not one Millbrae representative on the stakeholders group for the design of the San Francisco-San Jose reach. So our issues were completely not addressed in the business plan. So we look forward to working with you. We are the largest multimodal station, but we deserve to be better than treated as if we are a third world country, which is how you are treating us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Chairman, we do not have any of the attendees raising their hand currently, but I am monitoring the list. I briefly want to give instructions again to the attendees who wish to provide public comment by using the raise your hand feature typically located at the bottom of your screen. And if you're dialing in by phone, pressing #2 will raise your hand and put you into our queue.
Are there, or can you determine, Mr. Secretary, how many people we have still listening or watching?
Mr. Chairman, currently on the Zoom application, we currently have 15 people watching.
Okay. Well, why don't we wait a couple more minutes, and then if you wouldn't mind giving your instructions again, and then let's wait another 2 or 3 minutes.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, we currently have a Tom Williams who raised their hand for public comment.
Did we not have Mr. Williams before?
He did provide his public comment. I'm not sure if perhaps it's another member
Sure.
under his name.
Okay, let's go ahead. Mr.
No,
Williams, good morning.
Chair Richard, again, it's Tom Williams, City Manager, and thank you for allowing me to speak. I would just offer you as the chair and the California High Speed Rail Board to come to the city of Millbrae to tour the location and look at the site so we could adequately brief you and you have knowledge of what's happening here in the city of Millbrae. So that's a request I have as well. Thank you for letting me ask that question of you, and I appreciate the time.
You bet. Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to briefly go over the instructions one more time for all the attendees who wish to provide public comment. Attendees who are joining us today via the Zoom application, please use the raise your hand feature typically located at the bottom of your screen so that we may call on you to provide your comment. If you're joining in by phone, pressing #2 will raise your hand and put you into our queue. Speakers will be called in the order that their hand is raised. Mr. Chairman, no hands have been raised, but I am actively monitoring the attendee
Okay,
list.
thank you. Mo, when you indicate we have 15 online, is that a combination of Zoom and telephone?
Correct, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you've heard our secretary mention, there are, I believe, 15 of you who are currently monitoring this listening session on Zoom. I'm assuming that at this point that none of you, because of your having not raised your hand, I guess located somewhere on the bottom of your screen, that it may be fair to assume that you are not intending to make a comment. We certainly encourage you to make comments if in fact you wish to do so. Because of the importance of this listening session and helping us to ensure that we've got all the comments from the public in advance of the board meeting that we will have on March the 25th, the agenda item of which is the approval by the board of this business plan. I'm going to leave the meeting open right now until 10 o'clock. It's 9:47 now. Mo, if any, well, of course, we'll be with you, but if any members of the public raise their hand, if you would let us know. Secondly, if anybody else joins between now and 10 o'clock, would you let us know that also? And would you maybe every 5 minutes, would you also provide again the instructions on what the people who have joined us from the public need to do in order to provide their comments? So it's now 9:47, so we'll continue with this listening session until 10 o'clock and then make a determination what we do at that point.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, we have not had anyone join, but I'm going to take this opportunity to briefly go over the instructions again for anybody who wishes to provide public comment. For attendees joining us using the Zoom application and who wish to provide public comment, please use the raise your hand feature typically located at the bottom of your screen so that we may call on you to provide your comment. If you're joining in by phone, pressing #2 will raise your hand and put you into our queue. Speakers will be called in the order that their hand is raised. Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
we have an attendee who just joined, so I'm going to go over the instructions one more time to provide that member with the information if they wish to provide public comment.
Thank you.
Attendees who would like to provide public comment and are using the Zoom application, please use the raise your hand feature typically located at the bottom of your screen so that we may call on you to provide your comment. After introduction, each speaker is allotted 2 minutes to provide their comment. I will provide a heads up 15 seconds prior to the 2-minute time limit. We currently have a member with their hand up. We currently have a Jean Steenhauer.
Good morning, hopefully Mr. Steenhauer.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Jim Steinhauer from the company Aegis Rail. We provide engineering and consultancy services for railways, mainly on high-speed experiences in Europe and in North America. And I would like to ask you the question if there will be a more detailed program of the expected comings RFQs and RFPs for the, in line with this with the second edition of this business plan for the California high-speed rail.
Mr. Steenhauer, I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question, but typically on the listening session like this, we do not answer any questions, but rather this is the public's opportunity to provide its comments on the 2020 business plan. Would you please state again what it is that you just stated?
The question would be just to understand if next to the business plan, there will be an addition document with the programmed procedures to procure some of the contract that are expected to be procured by cars.
Okay. For the process today, the only thing that we are looking for comments on, and we will certainly record your question, but the comments are on the business plan itself and the policies and procedures with regards to procurement, et cetera, are available or can be found on the website. But you're certainly welcome to provide your comment or your question that is now recorded from this session. And so we now have that. So thank you.
Mr. Chairman, as we approach 10 a.m., I want to provide you an update that no new attendees have joined after instructions were given.
Okay. Can you tell me, do we still have 14 or 15 on who are listening?
Currently, Mr. Chairman, we have about 8 attendees listening.
8. Okay. All right. All right. Since we just got that, Mr. Steenhauer, we'll wait 5 more minutes. So at 10:05, then we'll determine where we're going to go next.
Mr. Chairman, as we approach 10:05, I just want to provide you an update. No new attendees have joined. All attendees currently in the meeting have been provided instructions on how to provide public comment.
Thank you, Mo. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now 10:05. We've had one comment in the last 20 minutes, roughly. There are a number of you who are still on this Zoom call. We'd like to thank you for your participation, either by listening and/or making your comments. Because there do not appear to be any other members of the public who wish to give comments during this call, may I remind you that through March the 12th of 2021, we will continue receiving comments from the public on the 2020 business plan, the draft 2020 business plan, that is, which was released on February 9th, 2021. You may make your comments directly to the California High-Speed Rail Authority at its Sacramento address, which is noted on the website for the California High-Speed Rail Authority, www.hsr.ca.gov. In addition, you may forward your comments via email to the email address also noted on the website. And we encourage you to do so, or to let others that you know who have an interest in making a comment to please provide their comments to the authority on or before March 12th, 2021. With that, at 10:06 this morning on March the 2nd, we have had a listening session, that is, we, the California High-Speed Rail Authority, to receive your comments from the public on the business plan, as I noted a few moments ago. Thank you again for your participation and attendance. At this time, this meeting is now adjourned. And again, thank you. Our next board meeting, March 25, 2021. The agenda item, among others perhaps, but the agenda item will be the board's consideration of the draft 2021 business plan. Thank you, everyone, and good morning.